Today, I'm making a tier list for the counters in Dragon Ball FighterZ. A couple of days ago, we made a video where we talked about what you guys thought were the best counters in Dragon Ball FighterZ, and if you're interested, you can go ahead and watch that video here in the cards if you're new here. It's a pretty good watch. Open it up in a new tab. I want your guys' opinion and thoughts on this topic in the comments down below. But check it out, we're gonna jump right into this list with the first one, Cooler. This dude's counter, man, look, it costs 3 bars. You don't really get any combo after it. And to make matters worse, to put salt in the wounds just a little bit, if you manage to counter a Ki Blast at mid to full screen, the opponent can vanish your actual counter itself, meaning you just burn 3 bars for nothing. Don't get me wrong, his counter definitely has a lot of strengths, one of those strengths being it's completely safe to do when somebody tries to safe jump you, which is really good utility, especially if you know someone's going to try to keep up the pressure in the corner, and that can get you out of a sticky situation. The big downside being it costs 3 bars, and as a result, its utility is a little bit sparse. And Cooler's damage on his counter isn't too bad, coming in at 4,020. But a big issue with this is some of the other counters in the game give you more value than that for much cheaper. For example, the next one on our list, Videls. The downside to this one being that, although it may cost 1 bar, so it's a lot cheaper, it only works against physical attacks. However, if you manage to pull the counter move off, then it's a definite confirm. If you pull this move off twice, it'll immediately do more damage than Cooler's, as the damage for this move comes in at 2,318 damage on the low end, and 2,636 damage on the high end. However, another massive drawback to this move is the fact that it's not as safe as Cooler's is. Where Cooler's works on wake up against safe jumps, Videls is going to get snuffed out outright. Really, the big advantages that hers has over Cooler is the fact that you can't vanish out of this, it costs less, so you can perform it twice and deal more damage than Cooler's. But to be honest, these two are kind of interchangeable as far as where they rank here. Moving on with the list, we got Janemba's counter. Now for a C tier counter, it's still pretty good. It has the really unique property of making you completely invincible until after your counter has been performed. Janemba will even be impervious to level 3s, which is something no other counter can boast. While it doesn't deal much damage at all whatsoever, dealing only 600 damage, it does lead to a full combo. The reason it's in C tier is because, well, it doesn't counter physical attacks, which is a massive downside to this counter here. You'll find this counter being a little bit more situational, as people are going to expect you to do it. And in fact, they may even try to bait it out of you. And that's why this ends up in C tier. But moving up to the B tiers, we have Vegeta. Now, I like this counter personally, because as you guys know, it costs no meter at all, it does pretty decent damage coming in at 1,500, and it counters physical as well as ranged attacks. However, if you're countering a ranged attack, it's not going to teleport you to the opponent and deal the damage. Instead, you're just going to whiff your attack. Not only is this counter super disrespectful to get hit by, because there's something just a little bit salt-inducing with it. Maybe it's the fact that he smashes your face into the ground, I don't know. But Vegeta does get a full combo out of this. And having that utility in a counter is extremely important. Now, if I'm being 100% honest, if our man UI Goku only had one of his counters, regardless of which one it would be among the worst counters in the game. Because his 6H isn't really all that amazing if you're playing against a good player. Because if you try to use this move at full screen against like a Ki Blast or something like that, you're gonna get absolutely smoked, as you're gonna be negative once you get towards your opponent. But if you use it closer to your opponent, then you're good. However, this counter absolutely bullies beams as well as lariats. And it's great against angled beam as well. So it does have utility, but it's really specific and very situational. And you have to be aware of that as a UI Goku player. While his level 1 counter doesn't do anything amazing as far as damage is concerned, it's great at cleaning up any mistakes a UI Goku player can make. Now the downside to this counter is it does less damage than Videls' level 1 counter and costs the same amount. And under the right circumstances, which are pretty common, it can be vanished out of. Now we gotta move on to the next best counters in the game. And next up is gonna be our man Hit. People underestimate Hit's counter to no end. Alright, I'll give it to you. While standing special attack may be nothing to go ahead and write home about, his jumping special absolutely demolishes Super Dash, which is a core mechanic to the game. Even the highest level players use Super Dash a lot in order to close the gap in on their opponent. And a good Hit player is going to see to it that you second guess every Super Dash you ever do in that set. Because if you do go ahead and Super Dash, well, you're gonna get hit with a full combo. Never have I seen a character's counterattack not only be extremely disarming to the opponent in the hands of a good Hit player, but also become part of the actual character itself's playstyle. Definitely one of the best counters in the game. And that brings us to our number 1 spot. Our man Jiren has way too many counters, man. Like, the entire character is a counterattack. And to put the cherry on top, just like Cooler's level 3 counter, you can wake up with Jiren's counter and completely smoke safe jumps with your quarter circle back heavy attack. Now this dude's light and heavy counterattacks are going to go ahead and actually activate activate on a ranged attack. However, it'll completely nullify it, which isn't the best use of the counter admittedly, but at least you don't have to worry about taking the damage. His quarter circle back special, however, is where things get real sweet. This thing used to be one of the most garbage counters in the game, and now it's revered for how many different things it counters. This gives Jiren a lot of utility out of this one move, because this counters any physical attack, any beam, or ki blasts, assists, as well as dragon rushes, and no other counter in the game can say that. And yes, the opponent can vanish out of your counter attack, but in that instance, if you have a bar, you can also vanish and return back to neutral. And if you actually end up hitting this counter, then, well, you can vanish and get yourself a full combo. Alright guys, that's my list. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comments down below. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? If you want to watch more Dragon Ball FighterZ videos, I got a couple videos on the screen now. As a little friendly reminder, we do have a video where we explain all of these counters much more in depth in this video up here in the cards. It should also be on the screen now if you want to go ahead and check it out. But dudes, guys, thank you very much for watching to the end. I really do appreciate it. I'll catch you guys in tomorrow's video, but until then, have yourselves a wonderful day.